There we go. All right, wonderful. So, and also if you are new to this format, we are going to do a conversation with Collin and talk about directing. And then afterward, if you want to stick around, we're also going to do a couple breakout sessions, because another part of this is not only the educational component, but also the networking component. And I know that the world is opening up again and we're all getting very busy and seeing each other in real life. But I do think because we're so spread out across the state, these are really good opportunities for people to meet each other that maybe wouldn't. And people already, I've heard great stories about people from different parts of the state meeting on these little boxes and working together. So, all right, well, I'm going to spotlight our wonderful guest, Collin.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Spotlight me too, just so it's not too confusing for me to throw questions at you.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, welcome. So good to see you.
Oh, good to see you too, as always. Thank you.
And you, so in 2019, before the world went nutty crazy, had your second feature film premiered, but showed at the KC FilmFest.
Yeah.
And it was exciting. I remember being there in that full house, how cool that was.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. That was like the welcome you need, especially when you're like, it's my second movie and you're just like, you just want all the love and support you can have. So like it was, I remember it. I will never forget that.
Awesome. Well, let's go back a little further. So you are a Midwest guy, you're not a Missouri guy, but we've adopted you. So
yeah, absolutely.
You grew up in Indiana?
Yeah, I grew up in Indiana, northern Indiana, Fort Wayne. Very similar. That's what's great about Kansas City. I feel like Kansas City is obviously way bigger, but like Kansas City to me is a good blend between I grew up in Indiana and then I went to college in Chicago. So like to me, Kansas City is like the best of both worlds, I feel like.
It's really cool. I like that positioning. Yeah, very cool. So you went to college. Did you study film in college?
I did. I went to Columbia College and yeah, growing up in Indiana, I think it helped that I was in northern Indiana. So Chicago, like everyone I knew either went to Indianapolis or Chicago, I feel like, before we ventured any further. But for me, it's like, yeah, it was good to know that for my parents probably too, and everyone who's like, wait, you're getting into film, like I've always been like the artsy type. So like, I feel like Chicago was a good stepping stone just to not even just, the film school part was great, but really just getting to like a bigger city and meeting diverse people who are all doing something cool and creative that, that's the inspiration I needed to know that, okay, like it's possible. You can go make movies, you can go be creative, you can go explore different things than whatever's, outside your door in your hometown.
Awesome. So have your parents supported this crazy dream?
Yeah, luckily I'm very fortunate. Like me, and I have an older brother who's also very, he's a screenwriter and he lives out here in LA. So like we both I don't know. We always my parents, we always say they didn't do a good job like filtering what movies we watched. We'd always just pick things. We'd go to the video store and pick things based on like the box, like, oh, cool. This is like, and we'd be renting like Chucky or like, Freddy Krueger or something, because we were so interested in like the process. And I think my parents were so supportive because they saw we would draw and we would like, write stories and we choose movies based on how creative they look to us. I think it was like a subconscious thing. Like, we love like Pee-wee's Playhouse and stuff that was very like
visual, very
visual. And I think luckily my parents and extended family and stuff could see for some reason it wasn't just like, oh, we're watching the Disney movie. We were like obsessed like with everything. And I think that helped them understand like, well, there's something going on. So let them keep, they didn't get it or they didn't understand how to approach it. So we were like, we just went for it, not knowing what we were doing. It was just like a subconscious thing.
I love that. Did you have a camera growing up? Did you start shooting?
I remember when, it's so funny now, I'm almost like jealous of how we all have, kids and everyone can do like pre-YouTube. I remember my, like the big VHS cameras. Like I remember when my dad had to like rent one or something. And like, it wasn't even ours, like in the early days, like, when I was like in second grade or whatever, he had to rent it. And I remember when I had all my Legos and stuff and we would film my Legos and I was like, trying to do stop motion and stuff. And that kind of eventually led to, the cameras got smaller and smaller and I was just always using it. Then it wasn't even the family camera. It was just like pretty much mine. I was like glued to it. So yeah, that's kind of how it began. And I think that's again, how people started like I became like the movie guy at school, even in high school. Like anytime there was a campus life video or a student council video, they'd be like, can you do this? And I was like, of course, like I'm gonna, spend all night not doing my homework and editing some weird video for like the announcements the next day. But that's how I think, again, people, my parents and everyone were like, oh wow, there's like almost a market out there. Like people were coming to me, and which turned into wedding videos and things that actually paid a little. And I think, that's where it's like, okay, like this is possible. And all my friends, we'd spend Saturdays and, weekends like out in the woods filming our war movies and mob movie, all the silly stuff you do. But it was all practice. Like I think that's how, like if you really are passionate, you wake up and you're like, okay, let's go film that lightsaber battle out back that we've been working on all week. So yeah, that's how it kind of all began.
I love that. And how did you choose? You went to Columbia College. How did
Yeah.
you choose that?
I think it was because, I mean, in the Midwest, like it's tough. Like at the time, at least. Now it's so different. Now I feel like, again, like the technology is so different, and everyone can edit, and like like 10-year-olds can edit better than me. If you watch, like just because of like how everything. Again, that's why I jokingly am jealous. I'm like, oh, it's so frustrating. I've worked so hard, and I'm sure that's what everyone before us who was splicing film together. It's like, you idiot, you're using video. Like, don't complain. So yeah, it's like for me, I think Chicago. I remember going to Columbia, like visiting when you do the tours, and like, I don't know if I forget how it all works now. It feels so long ago, but I remember just being like, whoa, like this is, if I actually want to take this seriously, this is where I have to go. Because I was looking at some other schools. There's a school in Indiana called Huntington that weirdly has an amazing like film department and video, department. And all my friends went there, a lot of them. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go there just because they're all there and there's a good film department. But then when I checked out Columbia, I was like, oh, like I need this big city like intensity to really push. And I know that's not how it has to be for everyone. And again, with after post COVID, it's like we're all different. We can all, you can be anywhere and kind of connect with people, which is awesome. But at the time, at least, I was like, I need to be outside of my comfort zone. Cool. And it felt very like weirdly comforting because everyone was very like-minded, but very, just what do you call it? Like when you're just like kind of like, you're pushed outside your comfort zone in the best way. Where you're like, I have to challenge myself. So that's why I chose Columbia.
Awesome. I love that. And so do you feel like where in the college, did you always know you wanted to direct, or how did you know? And you edited those. So when did you decide kind of what you wanted to do?
Honestly, it's funny. When I was like real little, I thought I wanted to act because I thought that was like who made the movies, like I thought that's like, they're the face of the movie. So they're the filmmakers. And it's weird. My older brother wanted to direct. I remember like, this was like forever ago, but then we switched. Like he became more of the, like, I don't like the hands-on, like being on set and all the rules that go with it. He wants to be in the room writing, coming up with the ideas and pitching ideas. And I went the other way. I was like, I hate writing. I hate being in front of the camera. I want to be hands-on behind the camera. So, but I've known that literally since like, I know it sounds ridiculous and everyone says this, but I swear since I was like in third grade, like I was like fourth grade, fifth grade, I was like, I want to direct. Like I thought it was maybe producing. Then I thought, I wasn't sure, again, wasn't sure, but all through college, like I majored in film, like actual directing. Cool. And I just took like secondary classes on editing and all the other things just to see how it all worked. But yeah, I've always known directing was what I wanted.
Awesome. What do you love most about directing?
Good question. I think it's just this idea of getting to work with so many different people and trying to convey a vision. And when people connect with that vision and you're like, you get that, like you watch that movie too, and you do this. And like, when someone presents something to you that takes your idea and elevates it. And like, that's where you're just like, how it kind of is I can't say this word, but a microcosm of how the world works. Like that almost made me more comfortable because I'm not shy, but I'm like definitely like an introvert, and the world's stressful to me, and it's like seeing that how things can be executed in a movie when you're directing through people who do whatever they do better than you. Like I like doing production coordinator, or I like but then when you see someone who really does it, you're like, whoa, like you can take my thing and like run with it. That's when I feel the best, you know, like I think that's what I like the most about it. When you're seeing it come to life and you're like, how is this? It's kind of scary because you're like, what is happening? How this is just like money's being spent and people are doing this, but like I feel like that's my favorite part when it's going right, you know, and everyone's doing the best they can and they're in the right environment.
Cool. So out of college, you did make short films, I'm guessing, or how did that
Yeah,
work?
I made a bunch of short films and like in college and out of college, just started making it. Out of college was when, well, honestly, before college, I had like 5 movies that are all like an hour and a half long.
Oh my gosh.
'Cause I know they're ridiculous. They're not movies. They don't count. You know, they're me again, me and my friends with like fake army helmets on and stuff. But like we spent grueling hours. So like I would be up, you know, nights and frustrated. And my parents would be like, what are you doing? Like you have school tomorrow, you have this, or like I was always working on something. Um, so like when it came to short films in college and after college, I was almost frustrated because I was like, this isn't, I want to make a movie, I want to make a real movie, a feature. But then I started learning like the importance of short films and how, again, like I don't have to do everything myself. When you start teaming up with people that can, even if it's just like a weekend day, like, and you go shoot something on a camera, you know, on your camera phone or something. Yeah, I started working on things, and that's how I started meeting actors. And I think that's what was really important, like real, you know, real actors and people in Chicago who, you know, were doing plays and theater, and they would come and do our short films because they wanted to be a part of something cool. And you know, instead of working with my friend pretending that we're 50-year-olds, you know, playing a mob boss, I could actually get someone who was 50 and look the part. And that's what the short films really started, you know, opening those doors.
Awesome. So, and you met a collaborator in during that time, it sounds like.
Yes, that's where I met like David Desmalchin, and you know, he was in The Dark Knight at the time. And you know, again, the bigger world was really opening up of like, wow, they're shooting like one of the biggest movies of all time here at the time. And like, you know, being able to be, you know, at in reach of those people, and like reaching out to Dave through it helped to have my school behind me. But like, you know, somehow it was like a weird fluky coincidence, like we tracked him down and we connected, and it was him and a lot of other ones too, like that were just willing to come in and work. And I think it's the same thing we all do, is like you see potential in people. It doesn't matter what age, it doesn't matter what they're doing. If you connect right, it's like, wow, how can we work together? And that's kind of how David was. And to this day, obviously I literally like, I'm his kid's uncle basically, you know, like I'm that close to them. But yeah, that's kind of how that began. It's just like getting to work together on a small scale, and then being like, how can we keep pushing this together, and you know, accentuating what our weakness is. Almost like I'm fine in a room if I have to pitch to people, but like having an actor in a room to pitch to people like what we're working on, it's like incredible because they can just get up, do their song and dance, and then hand it off to me when I need to say a couple things, and it makes me look better. But that's how that all began. Yeah.
Cool. What was the short film that David did with you first?
It's called it's really weird. It's a movie my older brother wrote, and it's called Head Case. It's like a weird kind of Tim Burton, you know, Guillermo del Toro type thing where there's like a plant man growing in the ground. It's kind of a creepy, stylized movie. I'd love to make it into a feature one day. It's on our list.
Awesome.
Yeah, but or like kind of like a Beetlejuice type movie even.
Okay.
But so Dave, of course, played like the Beetlejuice character, the guy, weird guy growing in the ground. And I think he just liked it. I think he likes, you know, weird, cool, eccentric stuff. And for whatever, you know, for whatever reason, the script, you know, jumped out at him, and he was like, let's do this. And somehow at school, you know, again, teaming up with a makeup artist and people who could build like this weird labyrinthy, you know, within the constraints of being film students, like a weird little set. That's what we made. And it was, you know, I learned a lot. It was definitely like a little mini version of what was to come with our feature films.
Cool. Did that play festivals, or what did any?
A couple like little silly ones, a couple Chicago ones, and not silly, they're all great, but like, you know what I mean, like little things that just kind of gave us the confidence to be like, cool, we're showing our work to people. And it was really just, yeah, the experience and teaming up with like a big group of people to get something. And we shot on film, you know, which was crazy. And like I haven't shot on film since, I don't think, which is crazy. But so yeah, just getting a taste of all that stuff was really the main point.
How long did you stay in Chicago after you graduated?
Like I remember that summer I like was in Chicago a bit and went home to Indiana, and then it was 2009, and then that fall I moved out to LA.
Awesome.
And again, what helped is my older brother. He's 2 years older, and he had been out. He went to Columbia too. He had moved out the year before, so he kind of did the hard part. I remember I was like, when we dropped him off and got him set up that summer that he moved out here, I remember being like, I'm so happy I have a senior year left, because I remember just seeing the traffic and seeing everything and being like, I can't do this. And I was like, well, I don't have to right now. I'm going to go back to a senior year, enjoy, the last year of school. But yeah, I came out pretty quick. And so it's 12 years ago almost.
Awesome.
Maybe almost 13.
And what was that? Talk about those first few years in LA.
Yeah, man, those were crazy. I mean, those are the years that I'm like, they were some of the best years of my life, because everything was so amazing. You're meeting so many people, and I got connected with a lot of both, people from Chicago and people from, it's all good.
Yep.
Got connect a lot of what helped is like, the same people who graduated were all moving out there too, plus a lot of other Indiana people that I knew. And so I had like a good plug in, and I think that's kind of the key that made it work, was, having of some familiar faces that were going through the same struggle. But it was tough. I was literally doing any job I could, both well, actually, I luckily, because I edit a lot, like I found some cool editing jobs really quick. And that's always my advice to people, is like, learn how to edit, because aside from what it helps you with is people pay to edit. That's the one thing people would pay me to do. I'd spend like, literally, I'm not joking, like 20 hours a day for like months on end. There's one year, my second year, I was like, we did 3 indie movies in a row where I was like a PA, then I was a kind of assistant to the coordinator, then I was the coordinator on the 3rd movie. And it really, like, I learned all the stuff I wish I learned in school, honestly, like the paperwork stuff, stuff that you're actually good at, and that I'm horrible at. Even just picking up a phone and calling, like I can't do that stuff. I'm horrible. I'm like, oh, you don't have, okay, bye. And like, no, we need that. You got to talk them into it or whatever. I'm just like, they said they don't have it. So I was like the worst coordinator ever. But I was just learning and learning and learning, and it was so hard because, I mean, this is a dark story, but like not dark, but like I was like falling asleep in the car driving to, like, legit, it was bad. Like it was like we're overworked to the worst, and I remember like vowing like I never want to treat people again. I had great experiences too, like,
Yes.
I learned so much from these people, but like there's just times where you're just like, it's not worth this, you're like killing yourself literally. But at the same time, I was like 23, so I could like handle it. But now I'm like, I can barely even get up to film my own movie. But yeah, it was rough. It was really intense. But those are the years, once you get through those first couple years and rely on the people, you look back and like, that was also like the best time of my life. Like it was so amazing. So yeah, I did anything and everything.
I was gonna say, being open to every job and
Yeah.
any job is awesome.
Exactly. Like I was like, you just have to learn. I mean, that is literally, which I'm sure you're gonna ask coming up, like planted the seeds for like Dave and I throughout the process of coordinating and PAing. I was like a PA on like Old Navy commercials and like anything that, even if I was only getting like $70 a day, I was like, this is amazing. I'm getting paid for this. And food, they pay in food. I'd always go home with like a bunch of paper towels and be like, cool, look at all these extra I have paper towels for a month. And I thought that was I still think that's cool. But because they had extra or whatever. But during that, Dave and I would be, for fun, making our own little short films, and my brother and I, and that kept the creative part alive for me, I think, when I was stuck in like a trailer, making copies and stuff. But where was I going with that? Oh, but what was cool is, I think Dave and I, as we did short films, I would communicate all the things I was learning. Like, oh, wow, this is what you do. Oh, you tape your receipts to this booklet and you file it here. And like all these little, like the system. And I think Dave was even kind of like being like, okay, like, I think he was measuring like, I think we're ready. I think he's ready to read my script and we can maybe tackle this ourselves. So I'm so glad, like I learned so much. And to this day, I remember, it's like that stuff was so intense that like I'm never going to forget it. So I remember all the process of how spreadsheets and all that stuff, the not so fun stuff to me, but you got to learn it.
Yeah. Awesome. So the jump to your first feature, how did that happen?
So around that time, Dave, it was like year 3 maybe of me being out in LA. he was like, Dave was like, I have a feature film script. You know, we've done all these short films. You've been working on all these movies. Maybe we can try to get money. And I read it, and it was called Animals, and it was about two heroin addicts living in Chicago. And I was like, man, what? I love that it was in Chicago, and I thought it was a powerful script, of course. But I was like, why this? Like, if this is going to be my first feature, like, I don't know anything about this world other than movies I've seen, and I didn't want to just copy movies. And turns out it was based on, you know, elements of Dave's life, and I was like, you know, so Dave and I were, that blew my mind, and I was growing with him just even in our relationship, like learning so much, and I was like, wow, we have to make this movie. And both of us having met in Chicago and me knowing Chicago so well, it was not, you know, it, and the script being set there, it was just perfect to go film there. And it took, you know, I make it sound like this all just happened overnight, but like it probably took 2 or 3 years to raise. I think we only got like 50,000 at the time and we were like, finally, we got a great producer who was like, she was like, we got 50, let's go. We got to get on the ground and start making it happen. And once we got there and started working, I think people saw, you know, how passionate we were. And then we were able to get in total, like just under 200,000 to make the movie. And yeah, we did it, you know, typical indie movie of just hustling and getting a lot of new fresh faces who are willing to work hard and with us. And that, you know, we finished it, and we somehow got into South by Southwest and won an award there. And that kind of kicked open the door for everything to come.
It's a powerful, if you haven't seen the film Animals, it's very powerful, very intense, very
Yeah.
tough to watch, but
Yeah.
important. And it's about a topic I think people don't talk about very well. And this
Yeah.
movie allows for that conversation about addiction and all of that. So, but heavy first film.
Yeah, very heavy.
What were kind of the hurdles? And you said the money hurdles. I mean,
Yeah, it's always like obviously money and learning how to like, it's weird. Again, I'm just bad at that stuff. Like, cause like I remember my dad would be like, wait, what? Who would give you money for, like, cause there's no, it almost feels like it sounds horrible. It almost feels like you're scamming people. Cause you're like, I don't know if you're going to get your money back, but then you realize like the ones who do want to give money, they're like, we're investing in you, you know, and we're investing in the story. It's not like we're investing to get our money. It's not like a venture of or like a restaurant or something. Even that, like anytime someone invests, it's like you want to see the people succeed. And you know, if I had all the money in the world, I know so many people I'd be like, oh, finally, here, go take this money, go. I don't care. I don't want it back. I want to be involved in this project.
cool.
And I started learning those are the people, you know, that wanted to help and get us stuff. And they believed in Dave's story too. And yeah, so those were always the hurdles. But then learning what stuck with me was how to just communicate visually what we were doing. And if you could show storyboard, like I literally drew 800 storyboards for that movie, just so that I could have a giant booklet of like, look, I have it in my head, this is gonna happen no matter what. And you know, kind of learning how to approach those conversations. You know, if my weakness is communicating verbally, it's like, well, it's a visual medium. How do I, you know, showcase it all? And so I love that I learned how to like literally showcase, which only helped me make the movie better because I knew it inside and out visually. And so yeah, that was a hurdle. Learning casting, you'll learn. I hate the casting process.
What?
I hate it.
Why do you hate it?
Well, everyone thinks it's like the best part because you're like, yeah, the cast and who are we gonna get? We can get some name people or faces that we recognize. It just is so hard to get someone to. I mean, I like when someone's like, here, read my script. Imagine these actors who have so many scripts and, you know, like it takes them 2 weeks to read, then it takes them a month to read, and then like they get back to you and they pass, and you do that for like literally years on end sometimes. And all the while you're trying to get that money, but you can't have the money until you have the actors. And it's just like this weird catch-22 that never works. And for some reason, all the producers and money people have this like Moneyball checklist of like, this person's ranks more than this person. I'm like, this makes no sense. Like they always want who was famous, like, you know, they're always
5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, well, now they're huge. Like we got to find the person who's 5 years hasn't started yet. But for some reason it's a losing battle. And even on Animals was the easiest in that regard because we had so little money in a good way which, you know, goes to show the less you have, almost the better, because you think creatively and you get the people who are right for the role, not the people who check off some box.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's always the hurdle for me, casting, because even now the projects I'm working on, it's like, I just know I've made peace with it, that it takes let all the empty promises of like, yeah, next week we'll have this done. It's like, yeah, that means next 3 months, which is okay. You just got to be mentally prepared for that. And I wasn't at the beginning, because you kind of believe, it's not like people are making empty promises on purpose. We think we have to set a date, but you also have to be realistic. And so that was the hurdle too, even on Animals, is like casting. And I think just learning to communicate ideas with people that, you know, we all have ideas, especially when you're new to it all. It's like you're excited, so you want to prove yourself, so that sometimes there's some ego there. And I've fortunately never had too much problem with like ego. And you know, you try to find like-minded people, again, that just get you. And or if you're not like-minded, they're challenging you in the best way, not just for the sake of challenging you. So you know, those are always the main hurdles for me.
So talk about your collaborative process with David. I mean, he wrote the script and he's the
Yeah.
actor, and then you're the director. How did you guys work at it?
I mean, it made it tough because it was, again, a true-ish story. It's a true story, but of course put into a narrative, and which made it intense, because like I didn't want to screw it up. Like I was like, this is like a personal journey, and this is almost like a stamp in his life of this journey, and I'm a part of it now. And what was cool though is he's a perfectionist in the best way, that, and so am I in a way. And but he like can really verbalize that, and where things aren't up to up to snuff or whatever. And so we would always just be realistic with each other in a way that just only elevated the movie. And so we just can communicate. We can, we were in his kitchen weekend after weekend, trying to, if we needed to make something happen, we're like, well, let's put it on the wall. Let's put it on the calendar. Let's set that date. We were really good about just constantly pushing each other to, and his now wife, they weren't married at the time, but she was there too with us. But now they're married, and same thing. We're always in their kitchen working on something, and pushing each other. And we just are good at, being open, like fully open, not kind of BSing each other, just patting each other on the back saying, we're making, exactly. It's like that full trust. And then what helps is he's an amazing actor. So like, yes, he's an amazing writer too, and he knows his own stuff, but I think can so well separate himself from his writing. That was my biggest concern. Like, is he going to be such a stickler about something? Instead, he was like, no, whatever was organic and natural. Cause I like to kind of abandon the script. That's like kind of how I like to work. And I get it. Sometimes other people want to stick word to word, and that's cool. But for me, I want to be like, this is the essence of the scene. If we're filming and like, there's a lightning bolt in the back, like react to that. Let's make that a part of the scene because it's organic. And Dave was such a good actor that and Kim Shaw, who played opposite him, they both naturally could just do that so well. So like, that's what I wanted. And that's what, again, we just learned again how well we continue to click together, because we have the same priorities when we're filming and trying to make something real and organic and natural. So it was amazing. It was like, it was too good to be true almost.
Awesome. So you get into South by and you won.
Yeah.
Was it what award did you guys win?
We won. It's called this. It was like a special grand jury award where they gave like 3 every year. And I think they kind of fluctuate of what they're called, depending on whatever. So ours was like courage and storytelling, because, such a tough journey for Dave, and they could really recognize that. And I think, I don't know. I think for whatever reason, they really champion. So many festivals are so like corporate-y in a way, and you know what I mean? It's like it always is politics. Like if someone, it helps. But I think South by Southwest, they're so intense about, they don't care about that. They're like, it's
very gritty. It's a gritty festival. It's a gritty city.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they appreciated that about us and our movie. And so going there was just like an incredible, for me, like a taste of, this is not really, but like a mini taste of celebrity. Not that that's what I want, but like it's that feeling, not celebrity, but like that feeling of like feeling influential, of like, success. Wow, I can
success. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, we can do this. We can keep doing this. I think it validated my parents came and watched and saw the lines of people and I had to speak. And I think it just, again, validates like, oh, wow, like you're not just in LA pretending, you know, playing pretend house or whatever, which I still do most of the time.
It's all a little wacky. This
Yeah, it
movie,
is. It
yes.
is.
So that opened the door. You said kind of opened the door.
Yeah.
So how, what did that award do? How did that?
It kind of got me, it did get me like an agent and a manager and all the stuff that I think is important, but also not important. Again, it's like partially learning how to play the game uh just enough that you're actually now not just with your friends and you know, trying to get a friend of a friend to help you do this. And then it became more like now I'm in rooms like with actual like producers of, you know, giant movies and studio movies and kind of doing, they always say it's like couch surfing and you like you're never going to get sick of the free vitamin waters and or tea or coffee because you're always just couch after couch. Now it's different. Now it's all Zoom calls, which I actually love because I spent so much time, you know, a meeting. Everyone's like, what'd you do today? And I'm like, I went to a meeting. Like, what else? I'm like, that's it. Cause it took 2 hours to get there and the meeting was 40 minutes and then 2 hours of traffic back. And because it was across town. So it's like, now I'm very glad that meetings are on Zoom and they can be quick and they don't feel as like, I don't know, they feel so much more casual. Like this even, it just feels like, you know, lots of people are listening, but it feels like I'm just talking to you. So it's like, oh, in a way it makes it easier. But that's what the doors were open to, like get into rooms and have people actually come to me with scripts that were like nearly funded. And you're like, whoa, this is crazy. Like there's money already. And again, like there's a lot of false, again, not false promises, but like even if a project comes to you and it's funded, that doesn't mean it's ready to go tomorrow. And at the time I thought I was like, wow, I'm gonna be making a movie every year now for the rest of my life. And again, it's kind of a wake-up call of learning, like, nope, it's still the same process. It never changes. Even the bigger the movies get and the more powerful people around you, it still always feels like that short film in Chicago or Animals. Like it's just more money, but like the same process of like it takes time because people, it's hard to, you know, build. It's like planning a wedding. You don't just go like, we're getting married and tomorrow it's all going to happen. Everyone's going to be there and no, everyone knows what to wear. It's like, no, it takes like the year or so to get it done. And so yeah, it was like a year of me shopping, you know, me and Dave and everyone shopping the movie around in a way of like, you know, going to all the fun stuff, like going to festivals and getting offers from Showtime and Hulu, and which eventually went to Showtime and Hulu, which was amazing. Like I remember Netflix was involved at some point and we were all like, because this was like
Early
early. So I
Netflix.
was like, we were like, we want the movie to go to theaters. You know, like we don't know what Netflix is cool, but like now we're like idiots. Like, why did we not, you know, I swear they have like some list that I'm on where they're like, nope, can't put it.
He turned us down once.
Hey, turn this down. But luckily Hulu, it did go on Hulu and now all my movies have been on Hulu, which is still blows my mind like how that works. And so yeah, it was like a year of all that, like learning, you know, and trying to get the next projects going and still hustling on all my random editing jobs and all the stuff I still do now, you know.
So how did you like audition managers and agents, or
Oh yeah,
they came to you?
good question. I mean, that world's very weird. That's a good, I mean, the world of agents and managers, like, again, to me, it's part of the business stuff that I'm like, I hate this stuff. Like, cause you're kind of like, have to be fake. And especially at the time when I was 26 or 27. So like, I was just like, now I don't care as much. I'm just like, whatever. Like, I just like, you learn to just be like, be yourself. But at the time I felt like I had to put on a show. And yeah, I met with every agency, I think, which was really cool. Like to know that every agency, you know, wanted to meet and take you. And they
Knows
all
who
kind
you
of,
are. Yes.
yeah, they all know who you are and they all want to hustle. And then they have clients who are like, whoa, you rep, you know, so-and-so, like Sofia Coppola, or I remember all these names. I was like, I could, or like my managers, they rep like Colin Trevorrow, who does like the Jurassic World movies. And to me, just to be in the same conversations or on the same list as these people, I'm like, this is crazy. So yeah, you kind of audition and they kind of do their song and dance for you and you kind of do yours for them, and see who fits. And it's tough. Like I have a great manager and you know, but I hate that game. So like I avoid them. I avoid all of that stuff. And then I'm like, oops, oh yeah, by the way, I'm making a movie. Or, you know, they bring stuff to you, they do,
Okay.
but like it's always just kind of like, okay, like it just nothing feels real, and it all just kind of feels like a pretend world. And everyone, there's a saying that's like everyone in LA talks about making movies and everyone everywhere else actually makes movies. Because here it's just like, all right, let's go have lunch. We'll talk about it. And then you have lunch and then you're like, okay, so what's next? Like, we'll have a meeting next week and talk about that. And you're like, okay. And it's just like these constant meetings. Like, so when are we actually doing anything?
Right.
And that's kind of that world. But at the same time, when actors and these bigger A-list people and whatever need to Google you and see like, cool, he's got representation at, wherever, like, ICM or WME, then it kind of does give you that credibility in a way. But I don't think it's necessary. Like, it's not needed.
Right.
But it's important if you have the opportunity,
Have you stayed with the same people, or have you?
Yeah, I have actually. I've stayed with the same people, and I think that's just because it works, and I've learned that. Seeing Dave's 10 years older than me, so I kind of, everything he does I do 10 years later. Like, I'm always like, okay, he's doing that, so I'm always just kind of like, where am I at? Again, he's an actor and he's totally different and has a totally different career, but like, I can still compare. And he's gone through a lot of different people, and he plays the game how he wants to play it. Like, he doesn't deal with all the stupid stuff, and he'll just like move on to the next people or whatever. And so I kind of saw him doing that, and I was like, yeah, you don't need any of this. You do, but you don't. But I like my people, so it works, and it's doing what it needs to do. Like, when it comes to contracts and stuff I don't understand, they can handle that. But the rest, I'm like, it doesn't change. It's still me in the backyard with my friends making movies. That's always what it comes down to. Like, all the other stuff is just bells and whistles.
I love this. I love this about you. You're
Yeah.
so cool. So tell a little bit the steps between animals and all creatures.
All creatures. Yeah. So it did help having animals, like going into a second movie with one feature. That's why it's like, everyone's like, make your short film, make your feature, whatever. If it's the lowest budget thing, it doesn't matter. Like, if it's decent, if you can make it the best you can make it, someone's gonna be like, wow, if they did that with nothing, or with very little, or with a lot, with a bunch of great talent around them, whatever it is, you have something to show. And so we had people coming to us, not like crazy, like, oh my gosh, we want you to direct the next whatever, but Star Wars or something. But people were like, what are you working on next? As we, and we met some really cool people. I met a guy named Nacho, who is a great writer and producer, and he just clicked with us, and he understands like the necessity of telling hard stories, and shining a light on like the marginalized society. And those are the stories that Dave and I like to tell. And I think he was like, I loved your movie, let's go do this. And we met up with some other, all of the producers came together, and it did come together easier. It still took, I think it took the same amount of time, maybe 2 years of those conversations and getting it going. But Dave is originally from Kansas City, and again, the whole Midwest vibe of me, Indiana and Chicago and Kansas City, I was like, naturally like, yeah, let's just, even though there's elements of the story that took place in LA and all across the country, we're like, let's just do it all in Kansas City except for like a day in LA. And I think everyone just got like, okay, let's go do this. And even, though I hadn't been to Kansas City, I knew like, in a way, I thought it was going to be easier than shooting in Chicago. And it was, because everyone was just down to work. And so in a way, it almost felt like a spoiled situation. Like I got spoiled because it was so much, everything came together too easily. Mm-hmm. But which was great. It's still, the movie got done and we did it, and it turned out, great. And but yeah, it was the same process as Animals, just with a little more money and faster somehow, because everyone could see like, wow, they can do this. And then we had the like hometown vibe of
everyone. I think at that point, David had kind of raised a little bit more too. So I first met and came in contact with you guys. I'll just brief story. So we have a Missouri connected producer, Barry Curtis, who's from Warrensburg, who works for Marvel. And Barry and I have come up. They made a movie called Albino Farm years ago, this crazy horror film, and we've come up over the years. And so Barry emailed me and said, "Hey, there's a guy that's I just met on Ant-Man that is from Kansas City, and I want to introduce you to him." And that's
Mhm.
obviously David. So he kind of
Yeah.
introed us, and then I invited him to our event in LA. And by then I'd like Googled David and was like, "Oh, he's like a serious character actor, and
Yeah. Yeah.
he does all these scary things." I was like anticipating like this methody kind of
Weirdo.
scary guy a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
I'm so terrible. But then he shows up at the Missouri Meetup event late, and he was like, "I'm so sorry I'm late because I was at this children's charity," and he's the most precious man. And then he like
Yeah.
gushes about his new baby, and I'm like, you fall crazy in love with him the first time you meet him because he's a
Yeah.
beautiful human. And said, "I have this movie that I wrote that's very personal," and blah, blah, blah. And that's where it
Yeah.
started. And then we started meeting. And so then I didn't really meet you until on set. So,
Yeah. 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 And that's exactly it. Like that's how, I mean, Dave's so good at like planting all the seeds and meeting the right people and you
and you
know,
had a rock star co-star that time too, who I did
yeah,
not know. And when I told
yeah,
people in my office, it's David Desmalchian and Karen Gillian, and they're all like, "Oh my God, she was in
yeah, 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 exactly. She's like in Doctor Who and all these
Doctor
things.
Who."
And yeah, it's like yeah, again, that's another thing that just helped us get the movie made. And I think she jumped on board knowing, again, seeing all the connections that we had and all these seeds that Dave planted back in Kansas City. And yeah, it's like, that's how quickly it's like you just start plugging yourself in with all the right groups and then suddenly you're all meeting and doing it. And that's exactly how it all happened.
Awesome. So can you talk about your first time you came to Kansas City? What did you think?
Yeah, so we went, like, it was really cool. We went probably maybe 6 or 8 months before before we even had the money fully locked in. We went there. Dave's like, let's just go. It's kind of what we did. There's the philosophy of like, you can talk about it forever, but the second you like buy a plane ticket and just go somewhere, you're like, whoa, now we're like doing stuff, and you start setting up meetings, and then it feels like it's happening. So we went and did kind of like a road trip thing from Kansas to LA, but um just to get the vibe of the movie. And so I remember getting there, and I don't know, so like Fort Wayne, where I'm from, is like maybe 200 or 250,000 people or something, and it's cool and it's growing and it's everything now is hip and trendy everywhere you go. But like at the time, I wasn't sure what Kansas City would be. I thought we were going to be in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I know it sounds horrible, but I
It's
just was,
okay. I hear it
I was
every day.
I know. And I hear it too every day. Everyone's like, okay, so like you're a farmer, because you're from Indiana. They're like, do you have corn? I'm like, no, I was like a skateboard kid in the suburbs. But like, yes, there's corn. But Kansas, like to me, so I was picturing the same world. And in a way it was like I had the same hospitality. I was like, all right, like I feel like we can easily go make this movie because everyone actually wants to help. They're not like trying to charge an arm and a leg they're not like, oh, you're filming here, I'm going to turn on my lawnmower and you got to pay me $20 to turn it off while you're filming, which is what everyone does here. So I got there and just seeing the city and like the heart of the city, being like, wow, this place is like, it's like Chicago or something. Like it was bustling and like everyone was so like trendy and cool in the restaurants. And I was just like, and again, I'm not just saying this to be nice. Like I was literally blown away. I was like, we are literally going to be able to make the exact movie we want to make because everything is here that we need. And the right personalities are here. And like the film world here is so dialed in and so connected and so big. Like if you go to like like I love Fort Wayne. I'm not like bashing Fort Wayne, but the film world is like, it's there, but it's like, it feels so underground and so like, it's getting bigger and better. But like I thought Kansas City would be like that. We'd have to find like the underground people and everyone would be like, what are you doing? But I was like, whoa, they shoot so much stuff here. You don't have to like ship in tons of equipment from St. Louis or Chicago or something. Like it's all here. And so I learned that all that week or however long we were there, 8 months before even filming. And I was like, this place is incredible. There was like an energy that we were like, let's go do this. And sure enough, we were able to do it because the people that we met on that, I think we probably met Stephanie.
Mhm.
I'm not sure who else we met, but we were kind of just checking it out, just seeing the vibe. But yeah, that planted all the seeds for when we needed to come back to actually do it.
Cool.
So yeah, it was amazing. I was like blown away. I was like, this is like going to be like shooting in Chicago, but easier because it's not quite as, you know, I don't know, it just felt very like the film world was just like there, like ready to go. And I was like, how is this here? Like, where did this come from? I
And the
still don't
look
get
too.
it.
I know the thing I try to, directors get it more than producers, of course, but that authenticity of the places that are actually in your
No.
script,
Yes.
I mean, if you're faking them, there's still, they're great at faking it. Like I've been on sound
Yeah.
stages in LA and I'm like, holy crap, this feels so
Yeah.
real. But
Yeah.
there's something about the authenticity of a real location, I feel like. Do you agree? I mean, I have to say
I
that because I'm selling these authentic
no,
locations, but
100%. Like I want to shoot every movie on real locations. Like to me, like I don't care how big they get. Like it's cool to have sound stages and being in full control, but you can't replicate what's there. And that's how I think doing that scout, that first week scout was like, we could easily see that we could, within like a 15-minute drive we in Kansas City, you could film every location you needed. You could make this look like Utah, you can make this look like the city, you can make this look like LA. And you could do it for, you know, like a good prices. Like you could do it all for realistic prices and get every look you need, and it feels authentic. And yeah, that's it's all there. Like Kansas City has that. Like you can drive 15 minutes outside the city and you can have that middle of nowhere look, or you can find that cool bridge that you need to film something or whatever it is. It has the texture there. And I want to film every movie. I know it's not always going to happen because you're going to, you know, we're going to need blue screens, and now we have the volume where you can just, you know, Mandalorian style film anything. So it's like, do we even need to go anywhere? But I still, you
yes.
need that
Yeah.
authenticity. Yeah, I know you need that authenticity. And I think every filmmaker that I know, like that's all we want to do. You want to go find the real diner that has the weird 50 years of like dirt on the wall, or you want to find the sparkly, cool hotel that, you know, whatever you like, you want the real thing. Yeah. So like, and for All Creatures, there was just so many locations that we needed. It was crazy. And it was like summer and we needed like, I don't know, we just needed to make it look like a road trip movie. And it's like Kansas City had everything we needed and we found it all really quick.
And you did shoot a couple other places too, right?
Yeah, all we just shot in LA. Like we filmed the whole movie, I think, in 19 days and 18 days maybe. And then the 19th day we had to go back to LA anyways. We packed up, we went to LA, and then we were like, okay, we have one day of kind of getting Dave walking around and Karen walking around in the city to kind of establish
Mhm.
that. And then we did some nighttime driving scenes. And then I remember we had to get up, it was all the same 20 hours or whatever. We filmed in the day, filmed the nighttime driving, and then we drove like 40 minutes outside of LA to get like a desert shot.
Yeah. Okay.
So like everything else though, 18 days, we made it
Awesome.
seem like it was all Kansas
18
City.
days. That is crazy
No,
schedule. Was it
I
5 days or 4 day a week?
I think we did 5 maybe, or
I think
maybe
so.
I think we did. But yeah, I that was not enough time because even Animals was 23 days.
Okay.
And I don't know how I don't know how we did either, but like 18 days is not enough, I don't think. Unless it's like two people in a room. Like you can do cool indie movies, like if it's Reservoir Dogs or something where they're all in a room and it's all reliant on the actors, and then that's cool. But we were in the car and it was hot and we were like driving all over the place. Every day was a new location. I mean, you do what you got to do, but
And it was intense. Like Animals, it's a very
yeah,
intense,
another
gritty,
right,
tough.
right.
Yep.
Yes, dramatic. Like you know, Dave and Karen had to go to the dark places in their characters, and so it was very, you know, it's like emotional in that way. But at the same time, you know, what's cool about everyone in Kansas is like the crew. We all just got along. It's like you still have fun the whole time, even though you're just about to go film some super dramatic thing. You could call cut and be goofing around, and you know, still know that everyone's in it for the right reason. They don't just show up and phone it in. You know, it's not some union people who, you know, it's like you get what the best of both worlds. I feel like the professionalism, but at the same time, we can be real people and go, you know, if we're filming at, my favorite thing is like when you film on location at a restaurant, you get to eat the food of the restaurant that day instead of catering. And we did that like so much. It was like so fun.
Awesome. We do have some wonderful food
Oh
in
yeah.
Kansas
Oh
City.
yeah. That was the other thing. I'm pretty sure I like gained 20 pounds after, in a good way. Like I love barbecue though, so I had to try every single barbecue place. I know that's cliche, but then there's so many other places, you know, because you're there for so, like everyone forgets like the filming's, you know, a good chunk of time, but we were there for like 2 months beforehand. So I was there for like 4th of July and like all the fun stuff. Like as
Cool.
we're prepping, we got to actually experience the like the nightlife and the fireworks and like all the cool stuff before
And
you like
David's
got to the
parents
city.
were still there, yes?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they were there and like some family and like yeah. So I think we stayed with them, you know, right off the bat a couple times before we found our Airbnb where we were gonna stay, and it all came together. I mean, we all lived in like a big Airbnb house. I think we got two houses next to each other somehow,
Cool.
and we kind of were honest with them. We're like, hey, we're filming a movie, so can we all just kind of crash here? And you know, luckily it was designed like, yeah, we have like an upstairs with, if you don't mind sleeping in bunk beds. And so we did the whole like, it felt like a college situation, but like
Awesome.
it was perfect. We were close to the plaza and like
Cool.
everyone who came was like, what is this? This is amazing. Like we thought we were gonna be like in the middle of nowhere or something. It's like, no, we're like in the heart of the city. And you know, it was almost too fun.
Beyond David as a key collaborator, were there other folks from Animals that you brought on to All Creatures also?
Yeah, we brought, I'm trying to think, my editor Amanda, she's been on all my movies. She came with us, and you know, nowadays you can have the editor right there editing scenes as you're filming. So she came, and we had a lot of new crew though. We because what I learned, and this is what's kind of hard, like both for cast and crew, like you want to keep working with as many people as you can that you've worked with before, that you click with. But then when you do go to different cities, you also want to use the local talent because they know where to get that special lens, or where to get, like, they can get the hookup of this, or like they know this terrain, or they know a better place, or where all those little the nuances of what you don't know because you don't live somewhere. So we also mostly got people, we didn't bring too many people in because you want to use the people who are there. And that's sometimes hard because you're like, you know, people can be like, why am I not working on the movie? Or it's like, well, because we also have the local gaffer that is like the go-to people, you know. So it was a mix. It was like a little of both, but we mostly got a lot of new people.
Cool. You had another Missouri connected actor, David Keckner was
Oh yeah,
a
David
role. Yeah.
Yeah.
How was he on set?
Oh, he was amazing. He was only there. We had him for one day. I feel like he would have been there longer if we had, you know, more scenes. But he was incredible. I think obviously again, that's another benefit of shooting somewhere else. Like if you have hometown connections, like they're someone who maybe wouldn't be as likely to join your movie because they're off doing some giant movie, you know, they might be likely to do it. And he wanted to do it, and he was so amazing. Like when I met him, he was even like, he made the joke. He was doing this. He was like, I'll be in the background as an extra shoveling. He's like, do you need a guy in the background shoveling something? Or he was like, I'll do it. And I was just like, what? Like, you're an anchor man. You're going to come do this? You're in the office. But he was amazing. And he made it like fun for everyone. And again, shooting such a heavy movie, having someone like that for a day, it just lightened the spirits, and everyone's goofing around and playing jokes on each other. And he's also like an amazing actor. Like he does what I love. Like he's the type of actor that could take what was on the page and just also spin it into whatever naturally came in the moment. So you're capturing the lightning in a bottle, and he's like getting to do something dramatic. You know, I think seeing him do something kind of serious was cool. But yeah, he was incredible. So I wanted him in the movie after, and he was gonna do it. He agreed. It was just one of the things where like timing, and it was tough.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I definitely want to. There's a lot of things.
I think there was another story too about you. There was one role you guys hadn't cast yet, and you all went out one night.
Oh yeah,
and
crazy. We couldn't cast, which is one of my favorite roles in the movie. Is his name's Uncle Doug in the movie. He's like the guy at the end that kind of reveals a bunch of stuff and says all the heavy stuff. And we couldn't get anyone. We just couldn't land that role, and it was an intense role. And we went to Knuckleheads.
Yes.
One night again. I told, like, those 2 months leading up, we were just always checking out something new because we're like, had to, you know, you gotta have fun. You gotta get to know the city. And we're like, let's try this place. Let's try this place. Let's try this place. And we were there, and it was like packed. And we're like, because we had been, I think, another night where it wasn't as busy. You're like, this is cool. Let's come again sometime. And it was actually my birthday, I think, my 30th birthday. And John Doe, who's a musician and actor, and he's been around for a while, and he, you know, in like the punk rock scene back in the 70s and 80s, and he was playing there with his band, and it was packed, and we're like, man, what is going on tonight? It's like crazy here. And he was amazing, and we could see him well, and we were all having fun, and we're like, what if we just like, we kind of like at the same time, you know, we're Googling who is he again? Oh yeah, he's in this, he's an actor, he does this. we're like, what if we just like ask him? And we literally like asked him, and I remember my producer Amy, like after his show was like, everyone's trying to meet him as he's leaving. We were like, do you want to, we're making a movie here. We're here for the next couple months. We don't need you for a while. Think about it. And he was like, I feel like you guys are serious. Like this is real. And he loved Kansas City. He's like, I'm coming back for another show. He always plays there like around the same time. So we like made it work. And that's how we met one of the most important characters in the movie. And
I love this story.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. It was one of those magic movie moments that you like could never anticipate until you're on the ground.
Cool. So you never know, you guys, you never know who you're gonna run into.
Yeah. I mean, like at the time, I remember like Billy Bob Thornton was playing there. Like we were like, let's just keep going back to Knuckleheads and see who else we can get. Like whoever shows up, like we're just gonna ask if they want to be in our movie. Because huge names were like coming in. We're like, we got it, and that's what we do. We just like go hang out and try to meet the creative people.
Awesome. So you shoot the movie, tough, got it all together. Then what happened?
It took a while. Like the editing, I feel like was longer on this one. We edited the movie back in LA. And we, did the whole like submission thing, and we ended up screening it downtown LA Film Festival. And Samuel Goldwyn, the distribution company, they were the ones who bought it, and they were super. I mean, it was hard. It was a hard movie to sell because it was just so dark. And even though we had Karen and Dave and David Keckner and all these cool names, it was just like everyone's like, this movie's just, even though the movie itself, I don't think is that dark at all. Just the tone, the content was just so dark for people. They're like, we don't know how to sell this movie. We don't know how to market it. And we knew that. What's cool is, Nacho, our producer, and we all knew this going in. Like I said, he likes intense stories. So he wasn't doing it. He didn't want to produce the movie because, he's going to sell it we're going to worldwide distribution or something. But in the end, we ended up getting all the distribution we wanted, and it was on Hulu and Showtime also, and unrelated. It was all unrelated to it. It's not like I called up because my first movie was on Hulu. I was like, hey, Hulu, you guys want my second movie? It just kind of worked out that way. And it was like, wow, okay. So it took longer. It's funny, like Animals took longer to get made, and All Creatures just came together faster, but Animals sold quicker, and All Creatures just took longer to sell. But once it did, we found it's about finding the right people who are willing to trust that, like if the movie's heavy subject matter, or if it's a difficult, whatever the challenge is, you don't want someone to be like, let's just change the name and cut out the ending. You want to stick to what it is and the original principles of the film. And that's what we did. And we found, Samuel Goldwyn, which does all the, they're the blue, it's like the white. Like I remember like being like, wow, Samuel Goldwyn wants our movie, like, because they're on so many indie movies, like Squid and the Whale and all these movies I watched growing up. When I got into the indie movies, I was like, you always see their logo, and I was like, this is so cool to have their logo. So we got it out there, and finally, and it got, just like everything on Amazon Prime and all that stuff. So again,
were you producer on Animals and All Creatures as well as?
I mean, technically, I feel like, I always say this thing, the directors are, it's like a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle isn't, whichever way it is. A square is a rectangle, but a rectangle isn't a square. I think that's a mathematical thing.
Okay, yes.
I look at it as like, as director, everyone's a producer because you're all producing the movie. Sure. So like, I mean, I was doing everything along the way. So I get really kind of frustrated when I hate credits. I think everyone deserves their credit, but I hate that like the whole conversation leading up to a movie is always whose credit goes before who and what is the title card. And I'm just like, what? Let's just get rid of them. Who cares? Let's make it like Star Wars where it just starts. The movie just starts. There's no credits. And I get it. We all want our name on the spotlight. Everyone deserves their, to be like, cool, there's my name. But the producer stuff, it's like by All Creatures, I was already like, I don't care. I don't have a credit as a producer, but and I'm not saying like, I deserved it, but like, you're all producing the movie. And not to take away, and producers do a lot, obviously.
Do you stay involved though? It sounds like you were involved.
Yeah, like I definitely do
the distribution conversation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like luckily they clued me in. And again, as the movies get bigger, it's cool. Like with each movie that gets bigger and more money and, more outside sources that are coming in to have their say, somehow they still, I think it's the nature of the way the studios are changing. Everything's changing. Like everything's streaming and there's so much content that it's like, even though the movies have gotten bigger, they've let me stay involved on those conversations, even like making the posters and make, still they'll make their final decision, but they let you, have your input. So in a way, that's why I feel like I've always kind of been a producer on it. I don't just like hand it off and go like, all right, well, that's it. So yeah, it's been both All Creatures and Animals, especially like very hands-on involved. Dave also like just involved it from beginning to end.
And then from All Creatures to your most recent.
Yeah, the most recent Die in a Gunfight, which is a total departure in style and tone and drastically different. That was the hardest movie to make by far. And it's not because like more money. I mean, it is like more money, more problems sort of situation. The less money you have, the more you can just go do whatever because there's no pressure. You can be like, who cares? We're just gonna wing it. Whereas this, like you learning the ins and outs of like trying to detail everything, which is what you do on any movie. But yeah, it was a challenging experience for all different reasons, just because it was an ensemble cast and it was, again, back to why I don't like casting. It's so tedious. Casting 2 people is one thing. Casting when you need like 6 people to check off all the boxes before you get the money released, it's like, this is impossible because you're like, oh, we got 2. And then 5 months goes by, we got the 3rd, but the 1 dropped out. And now it's like, and it literally took 6 years. I read Die in a Gunfight, the script, and All Creatures Here Below like the same weekend.
Oh, wow.
And to me, I was like, whichever one goes first. And All Creatures came together, I think, faster because the whole thing of like I said, everyone in LA talks about making movies, but everyone elsewhere makes movies. So All Creatures happened faster because we were like, once we knew we were shooting in Kansas City, that's who we went to start helping us make the movie. Whereas Die in a Gunfight was just bigger and more strings, and it's like, well, we didn't know where we were shooting, and it kept changing, and it was tough. Like our producers, had to hustle, and it was rough on all of us.
How did that project come to you? Did it through
That came kind of through Dave in a way. Dave jokes he should be my manager. He had met the writers of Die in a Gunfight they had written Ant-Man. They were like the on-set writers for the first one, and then they wrote Ant-Man 2, and they had seen Animals. I don't think we hadn't filmed All Creatures at the time. Okay. We were working on All Creatures. They had seen Animals, and they were like, does this guy, would he ever do something like this type of movie, like a crazy stylized? And I read it and I was like, well, even though it's crazy and stylized, it still has like cool themes of love and humanity and trying to find yourself and all the cool themes that I like. So I was like, yeah, like I'll take a stab at something crazy. And so we hit it off well, and those writers are awesome. They're killing it. They're working on like so many giant things, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so it kind of came through Dave in a way, and Dave was going to be in it originally. Oh. Again, it came to like scheduling and stuff. He was doing Suicide Squad at the time and Dune. So of course, naturally, like don't do those movies.
Yeah. But hard choices. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough choices, but I'm glad, of course it all worked out. But yeah, so that was just a long process, but it came through, again, just meeting people who are hungry to like just collaborate. When you click, if I hadn't clicked with those writers, I probably wouldn't have done it, because it was very different from what I normally do. But I just love them. They're so cool and so smart. And I was like, I can learn so much from these guys. So yeah, that's how that kind of came about.
And you did have an impressive cast, ended up being a pretty...
Yeah, it was really cool. Alexander Daddario and Travis Fimmel and Diego, who's huge in like Latin Netflix and all the stuff he's working on. Like a big cast. Originally Helen Hunt was attached, but she was working hard on the character, but it was all timing, and our budget kind of shifted drastically, actually. So like, and that didn't matter. Usually actors are willing to figure things out, but it usually comes down to schedule. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was a big, cool ensemble cast and big set pieces. And again, I was able to bring both we shot in Toronto, which again, that was kind of Toronto doubles as every city and doubles as New York, and the dollar, because of the Canadian, the money exchange like goes really far. And again, they have a really cool film community there too. And you learn every city you go to. It's always important just to go somewhere else. I think get out of, LA is amazing, or wherever you think you need to be. Everyone thinks you need to come to LA. You do, but like, you don't. Like,
Don't just
especially
stay
now.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, go get the flavor of different places. Again, that's why I went to Chicago to go to school. It's like to open your mind and meet people. But you can go anywhere to film, and like especially now, like we can do this. Like, if all our meetings, if you're producing my movie, like we just do all our meetings like this until I'm on the ground there. Um and that's what we've been doing. And so yeah, we shot in Toronto, and again, it was just big, everything was just giant on that one for me. It was the biggest budget I've had yet, and got to learn, like, you know, the challenges of I mean, everyone was cool. I've never had the problem of, like, again, like, I'm very lucky. I think this is finally going away, this kind of bullying ego kind of thing. That's the hierarchy. I think it's finally being dismantled very quickly.
And
So
bad
it's like,
behavior is starting to
yeah,
get weeded
exactly.
out of this business, I
Yes,
hope.
it's like,
Yeah.
finally, it's like, I really think that change is happening, and it has been happening. And I've luckily only experienced the good stuff of, like, the challenges come from just time. It's always time and money, like, and that's okay. Like, that's where the challenges should come from, because that's the things, at least time, you can't control. So, but everything else, you should be like, hey, let's just talk it out. So yeah, it was a challenge, and then we got hit with COVID.
When did you start filming?
We filmed 2019, like November and December.
Oh,
So it
wow.
was like cold, brutal, and then we like took Christmas break to like get away from everything. And we were gonna dive into, like, in my mind, we had like literally 3/4 of the movie shot. Because we had to figure out how to just get the most with what we had, because we were supposed to have 30 days, and we shot that in like 23 days too. And that's why it was so hard. I've never dealt with, like, it's one thing to have two people talking every day in a scene, but to have like days where you had 5 people with like 100 extras, it was just like, how I was like, wow, I learned a lot here. Like, how do you now? I understand why it's so hard to make, like, that's why when I see, like, I just saw like the new Batman movie, I'm like, how do you do this? Like, how, like, there's hundreds of people. Like, I mean, I worked on The Dark Knight Rises as a PA, and I was one of 500 PAs that day. And I was just
Wow.
like, each PA had a coordinator in, like, each group. We locked off 10 blocks of this downtown LA, and there's like 10 PAs or 20 PAs maybe to each block, and each PA block had a PA coordinator that coordinated with the bigger coordinator. And it was just like, I was like, it's just like how anything, you just do it one day at a time, and one you coordinate the best you can. But like, it's incredible. So I don't know how I got on that story, but it's like, it's the communication and the mass groups of, like, dedication that it takes is just mind-blowing to me.
And probably having your core team becomes so much more important. I mean, your first
Yes.
AD and your,
Yes,
those people that you have to rely on.
absolutely. You need that, like, strong communication skills, and you can trust each other, and you can have a shorthand. That's my favorite thing, having it, like, because again, I'm horrible at communicating. So if I'm like, oh, they're like, yeah, we get it. You want the ladder over there? Okay, cool. Like, whereas like someone else can be like, I need the ladder there right now. I'm like, something needs to happen over there. And like, when you have the people you trust, they're like already ahead of you. Got it. So like, yeah, you need that, those people around you.
So after Christmas, COVID, so what
Oh yeah.
happened? Yeah.
So after Christmas, I was like, yeah, where was I going with it? We started editing. We had already been editing. Amanda was editing back in LA. And like I said, in my mind, we only had like 3/4 of the film, because we were gonna go do like a skeleton shoot kind of thing to get the backstory. There's like this whole subplot that we kind of had to cut out just to get the movie done.
Wow.
And so I was like, great, we'll just do skeleton crew stuff and blah blah blah. And then we got hit with COVID, so we're like, okay. And this was back when it was like, thought the end of the world was happening. Like, it wasn't like, we didn't know what, and not that it wasn't bad, but like,
Right.
at the same time, we all learned how to cope with it. But the first couple months, we were like, wait, we can't even film anything? Like, what do we do? So that's when luckily the movie's so stylized, we were like, let's just push all the stylized stuff. Let's find who's working. We found animators, professional animators, a company that was like, we need work, because everyone needed work still, and we can animate from home, we can animate from our offices and not have to come in contact. So luckily we were able to kind of piece the movie together, which I think saved the movie, in terms of really stamping like what the tone of it was, like the fun bubblegum, like it's a popcorn flick movie for young people, for teens and edgy teens. And we're like, this animation's like stylized and cool. And so we were able to kind of finish the movie, and really give it the flavor it needed. And then of course, luckily, a lot of posts we've learned, especially you can do without, you know, my musician Ian, who's been on 2 of my movies. He was able to work from his place, and we were able to edit, you know, continue editing from home, and we were able to do ADR sessions and sound sessions just through Zoom. So it's pretty cool how I think, you know, it's going to probably stay that way a lot of the times. Like you don't have to, you know, I don't have to rush back to Kansas City to finish something. I can be like, trust that someone there's doing it and I can hop on a call. So that's kind of how we finished the movie. And it was a totally different process in terms of it's just it shows you how much easier it is to sell like a fun, not heavy, you know, it was so, in a way, I don't want to say easy. It was still challenging. We didn't do the festival route. It was just like straight to like Lionsgate wanted it. We're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like Lionsgate wants to release our movie, and Universal distributed it.
Did you know that
worldwide.
before you
No, it was
filmed?
all
Okay.
after. It was all. I've been really fortunate that all 3 of my features have been found distribution. They were just total indie movies. They're total like, we're just gonna do this and hope that we get it out there. And all 3 have been, you know, picked up by big distribution, or, you know, good sized distribution companies. So yeah, it was just kind of like having Lionsgate, which again, like on those Zoom calls, it was so fascinating. Like there's like 20 people. They have like 20 people teams who are like someone's doing the TikTok stuff, someone's doing the poster, someone's doing the Instagram, someone's doing, and they have teams and they show you what they're doing week by week. And it was me and my producer Tom, like on these cool meetings, just like, you know, like
A machine,
yeah, it's
the
like a
marketing.
machine.
Yeah.
Yes, of this big, well-oiled machine. And they, again, you see movies where, and maybe it was, I know it still can be like this, but where you hear these stories where they, again, change the name of the movie and they want to do this and that. But it was like everyone's cool. They get your movie. They try to make, they see what you're doing and they want to, they're on the movie for, they bought the movie, so they want to, they like it. They want to do what's there. They don't want to like change it all. And so it was a really fun just seeing them do their thing, and their artists making the posters and the trailers, and it was really fun. It gave me hope that like, wow, I can go do like a big, you know, James Bond movie one day, hopefully 20
Cool.
years from now or whatever. Hopefully.
So what is next for you? What's percolating?
Next is, I actually, again, fortunately, because of dying in a gunfight, I think a different kind of audience of writers and producers saw that I can both do dark stuff and kind of more commercially stuff. And I can't talk a lot about it, but I was, someone reached out, Spyglass Entertainment reached out and was like, hey, we have a movie that's kind of a heavy thriller thing. And it's kind of a fusion of like my heavy stuff with kind of a more thriller aspect with a little bit of a sci-fi nudge to it. So again, it's a step in that direction of what I want to do. And so yeah, that's what I'm working on now, and it's really cool seeing, again, a well-oiled machine that they're big and slick on one end, but they're still at its core, it's still just filmmakers who are like, just want to make a good movie, and how are we going to do it? And I'm still doing the rolling up my sleeves and doing everything I can to communicate my vision. And we're in the casting phase right now. So
Your favorite part.
yeah, like that's why I'm just like, here we go again. Like if I'm having this conversation with you about this movie in 6 years, I'm gonna be very frustrated. That's how long it takes. But no, it's moving really well. And what's good is, and what I, again, more advice that I got and that I like to give is like, of course, you always have to have multiple projects going. And so naturally I have the stuff with my brother, and I have stuff with, you know, you guys, Kansas City people that I'm working on, obviously. A great script from Michelle Davidson, who everyone knows there.
And Jeffrey is on the call.
Jeffrey,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jeffrey Field Days. And so it's like you get your, you know, I'm trying to play that game still, always trying to get this big thing going, but you always have to have like your short film, keep working, because otherwise you kind of lose sight of what you're doing. And you know, naturally I want to come back and work with you guys. I'm not just saying, again, not just saying this,
and we were lucky. So those of you who don't know, so you'll learn more on Tuesday night if you come join us for the Missouri Stories Production Lab panel, and we're going to show the first 2 short films that we did. So Michelle and Jeffrey won the Missouri Stories Scriptwriting Fellowship with their script No Man's Land, and then pre-COVID we were going to do this lab COVID, blah. And then now we're doing this lab. So they wrote a short film based in the world of their winning Missouri Story script. And then we decided we were going to start making them, and I'm figuring this out as we go. And Michelle says, I know Collin. I met Collin when we're going to talk more about this at the thing, but we were lucky that you were in a place that you were available and liked it and came back. And it was a neat experience, I think, too, because you had just come off this kind of big studio-ish kind of thing that had you kind of in a little, more in a corner. And I told him that he gets to come to Kansas City and do this production lab, and it would be a sandbox. We were just going to play. We're going to let him have a go at it, and we all learned a lot. And I really feel like it was a cool experience. Kind of brought you back to like what it started out being. And I hate that the more successful you get, the less fun sometimes it can be.
It becomes kind of like work, because there's just more pressure and more cooks in the kitchen and all that stuff, and I get it. But yeah, you guys presenting that opportunity, like I had already loved the script. No Man's Land like blew my mind like 5 years ago, or whenever I read it. I know you, Jeffrey and Michelle, have been working on it for a while, but I got to read it early on, and I was like, people give you a script, and I'm the worst script reader. I take forever. And it was one of those scripts I just read start to finish, and I was like, whoa, this is not just some simple thing. And it's very Kansas City, but also very like big and commercial, and at the same time gritty and intelligent. So yeah, when you said like, let's go work on this kind of short film kind of version of that and get to play, I knew that, again, I knew it wasn't like empty promises that I was going to show up and it was going to be like, what are we doing? It was like, whoa, this thing came together even as a short film. It's like, feels just as big and everything that I could want as a director. I felt like I had everything I needed, even in 3 days of work when we went there in October. And so of course I was like, yeah, I'm going to come do this. And absolutely.
Awesome. So you'll get to see Boy Mom is the name of the short film. So we're going to show Boy Mom for the very first time in a theater. And then we also did another one called Lights that we filmed in Columbia in December. And so it's not finished, but it's close. And then we're going to do a panel discussion and talk about the process of these two short films. So now I want to open it up to any questions. And I think if you use the hand raise thing or just talk, let's ask a few questions. You guys have some questions for Collin? Pressure.
Yeah.
All right. If you want to put them in the chat, you can put them in the chat also, and then I'll at least know you have a question. And we'll talk a little bit more about so you're in the very early stage of your casting. Do you guys know where you're going to shoot yet?
We don't know where we're going to shoot yet. What's cool is what's really helpful in this movie is it's not a lot of locations. It's even though it's kind of sci-fi futuristic, it's like it's kind of contained. That was kind of by choice, but also I'm very fortunate that it turned out that way, because I don't want to do another ensemble piece right now. I'd love to do like one where it's like 4 super strong actors in a room, and that's like kind of what it is a lot of the time. So yeah, where there's going to be some cool set pieces in terms of, because it does have that sci-fi element, but where we don't know we're shooting. It's very early on. It's very really cool writers. I wish I could say more, but
okay, that's okay. I won't press you.
It's fine. No one would care. Again, it's like, in my mind, like, nobody cares.
We are recording this, so
I know that's true. Yeah. Delete everything that I just said. No, it's not like a Marvel movie though, where I'm going to spoil something. But yeah, it's been fun working on it and having the patience now. Now I understand. I think we all got patience out of COVID, which really helped. But I learned to be at peace with the process of how slow everything is, and weirdly things happen faster because I'm not dwelling on it. I'm like, I do the work I need to do, and then I have to go make money, and I have to go. Luckily, get to, like, you guys really let me. It's like a palate cleanser to come film with you guys, because it was like, again, I got to play and I got to meet another wave of new people. I'm like, where are all these people coming from? How do you guys have such a big film community? It really blows my mind.
I love this question. So Michael, Rich, do you want to ask this question, or do you want me to read it? Give you an opportunity. Okay.
Yeah, I can ask it. So hi, Collin. So I know you were talking about your relationship with David, And I
Mhm.
wanted to see if you had any advice for finding a mentor or a collaborator.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Honestly, just the fact that, yeah, finding a mentor and collaborator is like the most brilliant thing to do because, and again, I'm not saying I'm brilliant. I just was lucky. But it's I'd say it's somehow getting showcasing your work, reaching out to people. Like we just reached out to him, be realistic about it. Like not that Dave wasn't I mean, Dave was just only in The Dark Knight at the time. He was in some Wendy's commercials. So I was like, and he was in they shot, Dark Knight in Chicago. So I was like, I don't know, it's a shot in the dark, but it's like it's not just me. You have you and your friends, who are doing stuff, which is always good. But then you need to like reach out to those people who seem like they have a foot in the door, even at whatever level. And he was like, he made an impression on me in that film enough that I was like, man, that guy's gonna be in stuff. I feel like he's gonna be in. And so we reached out. So I would just say, be realistic about who you reach out to, but you can always, I mean, we're all on Instagram and social media and all these things. Like, use it. Like, it may feel like you're being annoying. Don't be annoying, but like, also don't reach out to like George Clooney. Like, like reach out to. But then again, that happens too. You can tweet at someone, and you never know what's gonna happen. So I'd say like, kind of be bold, but very specific about. Like, Dave is a very specific person. I don't know why it felt right to reach out to him, but all those factors made sense. And whoever that is now, if you watch that movie and someone, like, reach out if you have because maybe there's a reason why you connected with them through the material. So maybe they're very similar to you, and want to help you do your thing. And that's all that happens. It's just me reaching out. I mean, I can't tell this full story yet, but I did that for the new thing I'm working on, me and with Michelle and Jeffrey. It's like, I was like, I'm just going to reach out to this person. And again, if you have something to kind of show, it helps, obviously. Like, whether it's like, and don't take like Instagram and stuff for granted. Like, I've had actors go, yeah, I read the script quick, but I looked at your Instagram and I saw like your trailers and you posted a picture of all your storyboards. So I was like, oh, he knows what he's doing. And they said yes to the movie because they went to my Instagram. Like, so just kind of like do your best to have something to show, but be realistic about who you're, just aim for someone, and that doesn't have to be an actor, it's even easier to get a hold of, like, I don't know, DP, or because they're just people too. They're not necessarily, yeah. Don't go to like whoever's Steven Spielberg's DP, but even so, I don't know. Just try it, see what happens.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope
I love that advice. Mark, do you want to ask your question?
Sure. Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for your time this morning. You kind of answered the first part of my question, but my question was, what have been successful avenues for meeting talent and successful channels for finding potential investors for your projects?
Big
Good
question. Big question. Yes.
Big. Those are always the hardest. Because it's funny, everyone, after doing 3 movies and on to the 4th, you would think I'd be like, here's what you do. But like, everyone has been different. It's like every time I'm like, how did we do that again? Every single time I'm like it feels like starting from scratch. But talent, for sure, like, try to, I mean, you can always go to their reps and stuff. Like, that's why they're there. Like, you can annoy reps and say like, I want to get a hold of this person or try to, reach out. And sometimes it gets through. But I'd say, like, again, be realistic about the names. Like, find like talented, if some guy or girl on some project or some movie you like or show you like, who isn't the George Clooney or whoever, like, but they're always in stuff, like, try to reach out to those people because they're the ones who might respond back. And then suddenly you have some type of this cool credibility behind you. But for investors and stuff, I mean, do it in that order, because investors, all they want is to see that you have, like, that you had, I had my Dave to be like, look, this guy agreed. He's in The Dark Knight. I can show you the scene in Batman right now. And then they it's kind of contagious to the investors. And I think you get to them by every time. It's always been through, it's like always people I meet that's why you have these festivals and stuff. Like, you kind of meet someone who knows someone. And I know that's like stuff, I know it's not graded, like a great answer, but like, it's always just been like, well, we met that person at that thing. Let's reach out to them. We got Karen and interest kind of involved. And that's why it always feels kind of weird. That's why I meant earlier, when it's kind of like feels like you're scamming, because you're not scamming, but you kind of have like the catch-22. It's like, we kind of have them, but we don't really have them, but I can use their name and say I have them because
But
they're
you
gonna
don't
say,
have them until you have the
yeah,
money.
until I have you,
But once you
yeah.
get the money, you'll get them. So you kind of have
Yeah.
to, yeah.
You kind of balance it. And then when you have the meetings, like the people they're buying into you, they're investing in you, you know, and to me, it's so hard. I wish I had a better answer, but like, I don't know where I find, like, you just find the people and always look in different places outside of the film community too. You know, because some people want to just be involved in something cool. And if they want to believe in your material, it's not just like, hey, you want to help me make my movie. It's like, hey, do you want to be a part of this cool process with us? And that's how you kind of find people that might want to give something, and start small. Even if it's someone for animals, I cut a trailer for another filmmaker who's a really good filmmaker in Michigan. I cut a trailer for him for like, I think it was free or a couple $100, and he liked it. And then like fast forward a couple months, or half a year, he was the first one to give us like $15,000 or something.
Wow.
For animals, and it was just the seed money. That's all we needed to be like, now we could just tell people we have 15,000, you know, for startup money. And that made it to people like, well, you already have 15. And so, yeah. And that was just because I cut a guy's trailer, and and he gave us money through his production company. And so I know that's a long-winded, I don't know what that rambling is, but it's just kind of like planting seeds now that you know aren't going to pay off for like 10 years. Like, I'm literally still planting seeds that I know everyone's like, why waste your time? I'm like, because 5 years from now, I know that coffee meeting is going to pay off.
Awesome. Very cool. Diane, do you want to ask your question?
Yes. Hi, Colin. Everything you're telling me is it's so interesting. These sessions are fabulous. Thank you, Andrea.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank
I'm
you.
going to say Diane is also one of our winning Missouri Stories writers
Oh,
from
cool.
last year.
Very cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if you ever look at those sites that post script log lines when you look for a new project. It sounds to me like you have so many people near you who are writing stuff that you're already looking at. But what I'm wondering is those places like Inktip, Blacklist, etc. Is there one that is like not considered a scam, that is really considered like, you know, respected, and people will troll through there to look for material?
Honestly, I know this is like this is a hard truth answer, but like, I don't know. Like, I don't think so, because it all starts with the people around you. Like, I don't know anyone. I remember way back when, maybe my first year, we looked through, I can't even remember the name. I wish I remembered the name of it. It was one of those that a guy I worked with, I was editing with, he would have me scroll through that stuff and read log lines and pick the ones that could be interested. But that was the only time in the last 12 years that's happened. And everything else has come from, I mean, the hardest part, and again, this is a hard, blunt thing, but nobody wants to read scripts. Everyone's like, I don't want to read it. I don't like my brother will give me something. I'm like, like, I got to get to this. And that sounds horrible, but like, and then you get into it and you're like, this is amazing. I'm glad I read this. But it's like, it's because it's like, I just say it's more important it's the people around you just constantly talking about it and sharing with, you know, indirect. It's just like if you have that connection, that 6-degree connection to that person, just figure out how to get it to them. I think that's way more important.
And being at events, like, so somebody talking to you at a film festival about their script, you're more likely to read it than scrolling through.
100%, because you made that connection. And that's why, because even when I get frustrated about festivals, we didn't get into that festival or whatever, it's like, they're so important. Like, there have been people who have like recognized me from, I mean, that sounds weird. I was at a thing once and someone was like, I was at the Virginia Film Festival, remember? And I was like, oh my gosh, I do remember you. And now we like connect and we read each other's stuff. And it's like, I don't know, like, I didn't know him at all. Like, we were opposite ends of the country. And that shows you how that's how important it is to like go to these things and be like, because again, everyone's like, can you help me do this thing? Like, can you put me in your movie? I literally have trouble getting Dave in my movies. And that sounds crazy. Like, Dave's like in Christopher Nolan, he's shooting. That's news.
It's out. Yes.
I gotta be careful sometimes, but he's shooting with Christopher Nolan right now. And it's like, it's because I'm not Christopher Nolan. I can't be like, I want Dave in my movie. They're like, wait, you want Dave? But there's another person who is just as big as Dave that for whatever reason checks off their producer's box, you know, and I'm like, oh, like how? And so it's like really frustrating. So it's like, how am I going to get my brother's sister's roommate to who's an amazing actor or amazing writer. It's like, how do I do it? And it's by like, it's just like constantly talking to each other and constantly sharing each other's stuff. And just because I like me or whoever doesn't get to it right away, it's just it's not hounding it. It's like just kind of like keep talking and keep working with each other, because someone knows someone who's looking for something. And I know it's tough, but that's like it's the networking part is how you keep growing.
And I will say those sites are not necessarily for directors like Collin. I mean, they're for more like agents and managers and producers and people that are that, because you're not like seeking, I mean, you are seeking your next project, but you also have people that are trying to help you feed you those things.
Absolutely. Like, and that's why they have the agents and because they have so many people who can just, that's what they do. They're readers and they do coverage and, you know, write up a treatment for it and all that stuff.
Cool. Awesome. Any other questions? We have trying to decide whether we do, I think I'm just going to unspotlight us and put everybody together. And if you're okay, Collin, can we just do around the room and see what everybody's working on? This is what we do in the small groups anyway.
Cool.
So we'll just, how do I unspotlight me? There I am. There we go. Everybody should be together now. Yes. Gallery. Okay, cool. So let's start. I'll call out people. So we know, Diane, you are a writer. Just give us a little introduction to yourself.
Sure. So I'm guessing I'm the only one here that's sitting in Tucson, Arizona, and 85-degree weather today. So I am a writer. I'm trying to gain a lot of knowledge of how the business works. These monthly calls are so interesting. So I kind of have nothing to contribute. I just like to listen and see what everyone else is wrestling with. Collin, when you were talking about your brother liking to just be the writer and just not have any ambition to be behind the camera or directing things, you know, it's like, I think your brother and I would be soulmates in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I just love writing. I just love bringing the story to life. And, you know, I'm with a screenwriting group here locally. Almost everyone in the group wants to be a director. You know, they're looking for funding. You know, they want to do their films, and I'm in that way kind of a freak. I just want to write. You know, so these are just they are info gathering for me. And thanks for your tips.
Absolutely, that's great.
Awesome. Andrew, how are you? I know you were gearing up for your next project. How's that going?
Well, it's still going. So that's good. Now, I know Collin doesn't want to read scripts because I know that, but would he look at a trailer, an animatic trailer? Because I have one in the festival. It's right behind me, St. Grady, which is I'm a KC filmmaker. I'm originally from Philly, but I moved to KC. And, you know, I found the incredible collegiate atmosphere of Kansas City, and everyone's very enthusiastic to make films here. And I've made 2 really great films here. But this is a bigger project. It's a feature Western. It's gritty and character driven. And if I can't send Collin a script, does he have 3 minutes to spare?
Would you put it in the chat for all of us? Would you put it for all of us in the chat, or do you have to come to the festival to do it? Is it a link or no?
It is. Well, it is screening Monday night.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So I can send Collin a link.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, and I'll see it Monday probably too. But
oh, great. Okay.
Coming in tomorrow.
Yeah, I get to come in. So
terrific. Okay.
But that's a good point actually. I always will watch something before I read the whole thing, because then I'll go read it, because I'm like, okay, now I'm just like a visual person, and I think people can really quickly, like I said, when someone just went to my Instagram, it's like, yeah, I scrolled like a quick scroll, and you kind of see the proofs in the pudding there. And so I love seeing visual, like a trailer. I will always watch someone's short film because it's just fun. Like, I like to see what people are doing. Like, what is this? Whereas reading, I have to start, it's almost like work for me, because I have to start picturing it. I'm starting to visualize, I'm starting to break down, then I have to go back and I'm like, okay, now how would I shoot? I'm like, why am I thinking about how I shoot this? It's not even my project, you know, like it's almost becomes, whereas watching, I just get sucked in. I can see what you're doing. So I'm always happy to watch stuff for sure. It's like really
excellent.
point.
We did what you did. We did animation. We did all of our dialogue on Zoom. We, had our editor, we had the animation, we had a composer. So nobody was in the same room at the same
Incredible.
time ever. So,
Amazing.
yeah, it is
Incredible.
amazing.
Awesome. Very cool. Well,
That's
hopefully you
great,
guys
yeah.
will connect Monday and
Definitely.
feel free to direct message him whatever right now.
Yeah.
So Michael, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Michael. I'm originally from St. Louis. I now live in Los Angeles. My day job is I work at a design agency that does key art, but I'm trying to become more of a director. I just directed a horror short called Viral, and it's playing its first festival actually in Kansas City at Panic Fest. So I'm excited for that. And yeah, it was great hearing the talk, and you're doing everything that I want to do, Collin. So trying to take some notes.
Awesome. Well, that's great. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks for being here. Very cool. Bart, another one of our mentors in the Missouri Stories and a working writer out of the St. Louis metro area. Hi, Bart. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good to see you. And Collin, it's good to meet you.
Likewise.
Yeah, my name is Bart Baker. I am originally from St. Louis, spent 30 years in Los Angeles, where I worked in TV and film. I've had 2 features, 11 or 12 TV movies, and worked on 4 series. Then I moved back to St. Louis. I wanted my sons to be raised here around my family. So I've been back here and I'm somehow still working. And I'm real happy about that. And lately, all I've been doing, I got 2 books coming out this year, Andrea. So I've been plowing through. Oh my God, I got a book coming out in June, The Wedding Gift, and then the third Harry book, Honeymoon with Harry, which Collin was bought for a movie by New Line. The third in that series, third and last in that series, will be out in November. So I'm like Diane. I just want to write. That's all I like to do. I like to talk to directors, but I wouldn't want that fucking job for nothing, man. That's too much. That's too long a day and too much work for somebody like me. I am when Diane was talking, I was like, yep, I totally understand. Or your brother, I get it. And this is all I love to do, and I've been blessed to make a living at it.
Recently, somebody was going to introduce me to a producer who's from Missouri, went to Mizzou. Anyway, she is one of your producer on your Harry feature, I think.
Who's that?
And you're going to ask me her name.
And don't worry about it because okay,
we'll talk more later.
Sold the movie rights. They booted my ass right away because there were Oscar winners that came in and wrote it. So, every draft has been done by, it's literally been done by an Oscar nominee or an Oscar writer, and I'm not that level. So I'm a C-list feature guy and a B-list TV guy. So
no,
they trotted me along real quick.
Hey, they have your work, so they're just elevating, or it's there for them. You did the hard part.
So,
I'll follow up about that. It's good for you to know it.
Very good. Good. And it's good to meet everybody else here. It's nice to we don't get together enough, and this is nice. This is the one thing about LA I miss is the film community. So
awesome. Thanks for being here. And Mark, I haven't seen you in a long time either. Good. Thanks for coming in. Are you in LA?
I am. Yes, I am. Hello.
From Jefferson City, Missouri, though. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yep. Yeah, I'm from Jefferson City. I've been in Los Angeles since 2013. I'm working on a show right now called Little America on Apple TV, which has been like a really heartwarming, beautiful story to be a part of. Each episode's like a different immigrant story coming over to America and finding their way. I just AD'd a feature for the first time last month, and that was a really fun process. I don't know if the AD life is for me. I'm trying to go the more producer route, but I was really glad to have that in my toolkit because I think it just made me think so much more efficiently. And I write scripts, and it's been invaluable in informing like my decisions of like, oh, if I really want to do it at this budget, is there a better way to do this? And sometimes you come up with more fun, creative solutions. And I'm grateful to have had a lot of fun experiences PAing and ADing on a good number of projects over the past couple of years.
Awesome.
I have dogs fighting, so I keep muting myself. But hey, Jeffrey.
Howdy.
Okay, so and Jeffrey also winning Missouri Stories writer, two-time Missouri Stories winning writer, and it's exciting. Those of you in St. Louis metro area, but also you can check it out online. The St. Louis Public Radio and my office have partnered, and we're doing table reads of some of the winning scripts. And Jeffrey's script "Don't Go There" was, and not only is it on the podcast for St. Louis Public Radio, it actually aired on the radio. Yes, is that how you say it? Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you working on now, Jeffrey?
I have a feature that I've been working on that I thought I'd knock out a draft in about a month, and it is kicking my ass. So it was very ambitious, and it's something that I knew was going to have to be done right. And I'm finding out how hard that is sometimes. So my mind keeps wanting me to go to other projects, and there's something that I've been outlining that I've realized is probably a better novel. So I have to finish this screenplay. I have a novel to write, and then a couple other projects. So always keep the line rolling. So.
Awesome. Very cool. And Jeffrey will also be on the panel with Collin and Michelle and myself to talk about our Missouri Stories production lab. And it's the first time we'll be talking about it in front of an audience. So who knows what we're going to say. But I hope that you will join us. And then the Kansas City Film Festival kicks off Monday night. And I hope to see those of you that are in the area there. And thanks again for coming. We're going to do this again. I think next month. I think we're going to get it. The next two sessions that are debating, we're working with people. One's going to be with location managers to kind of really talk about the nuts and bolts of securing locations and location contracts and all of that. I think it's important to know. And then last year we did a finding financing panel with Justin Bernard, and he's going to come back and do a specific on pitch decks, because we started talking about pitch decks, but he's going to do some real breakdowns of pitch decks. So those two are coming up, and then we're going to do a couple more of these spotlight conversations with Missouri connected folks in the industry. And just, I think you can learn a lot, or I know I've learned a lot from other people's stories and how they really did it. I mean, it's one thing to listen to the commentary, but when you really meet somebody who came from Indiana to Chicago and then made a movie in Kansas City, it becomes more real, and you learn from things. I always say these, you can learn from other people's mistakes, so you don't have to make all the mistakes yourself, right? That's kind of my philosophy in life. So go enjoy this beautiful Saturday, and I hope to see some of you this week at the Kansas City Film Fest International. Have a beautiful day, you guys.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Angie.
Andrea, can we talk for a
Yes.
minute?
Yep.
Okay, good.